Hello, everybody. We're talking about squirting and female ejaculation today. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Diane. I want to, before we go into the details, we are going to cover so much today. We're going to cover some techniques. We're going to cover who can squirt, who can't. We're going to teach you how to do it. And we're going to talk about some research and studies around what actually female ejaculate is composed of. Is it composed of urine? Is it composed not of urine? So answer some common questions that come up with that. Before we start, I want to make sure, I'm going to put this in the show notes. I want to make sure to introduce you to the Pearl 3 by Hero. This particular vibrator is really great for helping with squirting. So since we're talking about that today, I wanted to make sure to have this tool. You will find this with coupon codes in the show notes below the video. So I will talk about more details on this later in the video, but wanted to at least intro with that for you. Okay, so let's just get some stats out of the way here as far as who can squirt. Can all females squirt? Now, here's the thing. Females can learn how to do this. However, squirting, one of the things that is happening with this particular thing, with this massive female ejaculation, is we get a stimulation of the female prostate. The female prostate is also known as the Skene's glands. And these are called the female prostate because from these glands, they secrete a fluid that also has PSA, just like men do. And just like men, some purpose of this fluid is to lubricate the urinary tract. And so we see that with female ejaculation, there is a release of fluid in the Skene's glands, from the Skene's glands. When this has been looked at in research, you can actually see things like PSA in the fluid, for example, as well as other things that are other components, other chemicals that are actually released from the Skene's gland. So it's important to understand that women have different sizes of Skene's glands. For some women, the Skene's glands are incredibly small. So if women have a smaller Skene's gland or a less manipulatable, a less reactive Skene's gland, but especially if it's smaller, there's a real good chance that female ejaculation is going to be hard for her to achieve. So I do like people to know that, especially because when I've talked to men that are really excited about this, that get really turned on by this, one of the things that I have found is that sometimes in trying to work with a female to do this, it can put so much pressure on her that it can actually backfire. It can backfire on the ejaculation, it can backfire on the orgasm, and it can almost feel like it's like this goal to achieve that is like linear and mechanical versus actually enjoying the pleasure. So it can be a fun project to experiment with, to see if you or your lady partner can actually do this. And there are techniques that I'm about to teach you that will help make this more likely. But I also encourage you to take a step back and, look at, what is hot about this? What is interesting? Are there other ways of experiencing and getting to that novelty and that hotness? Because if the Skene's glands are too small, or if a woman's having a hard time relaxing, these kind of things can get in the way of this actually being possible. Another thing that differentiates women here is that some women are only able to access orgasm this way and ejaculate this way if the clitoris is also stimulated. So for some women, that the intravaginal and an ejaculatory orgasm is always going to occur intravaginally, because we need the stimulation of the Skene's glands, and the way we do that is from inside. So it is going to require that intravaginal stimulation. However, for some women, that's not going to be enough to actually allow for that ejaculate to flow. So it would need to be combined with a clitoral stimulation as well. So for most women, it works best to spend a while on foreplay, and then when you get to the genitals, really making sure you're spending time on the labia, on the space between the two labia, on the mons pubis, which is where like the hair is a very sensitive area for women as well. And so using long strokes tends to work well, keeping it very rhythmic. Yeah, somewhere I think I've seen this a few times where people are, men are doing things like drawing the ABCs with their tongue or their fingers on a woman's vagina. Most women, I have found that that's like not the best technique to get them off because it's too all over the place. It's like that rhythmic nature of up and down in a rhythmic fashion. And like when you change, find something that works and stick to it and get into that rhythm, right? And so when we're doing that, that's starting to warm the vagina up to allow the G-spot to get aroused, as well as allowing that blood flow to all the erogenous tissue in the vagina to swell and get engorged. Now, once she is engorged, then what typically is going to work best from a G-spot orgasm is actually a manual manipulation or your trusted vibrator. So this is why I like this vibrator so much, because the curve of it is going to exactly place the head of this where the G-spot is. It's going to be a couple inches inside, like 1 to 2 inches inside the vagina, and it's going to be on the anterior wall, the front side of the body. So like the belly button side of the vagina. So if 2 fingers go in, for example, and you kind of hook up, you're going to be generally on the G-spot. Same thing with this. And the idea of a vibrator can be nice because it can allow for more comfort from a position standpoint. Sometimes, fingers can get tired, those sorts of things. So either way, you want to make sure you're using a lot of lubrication, and, you're starting typically with very gentle caressing. What is interesting for a lot of women, if they haven't had a lot of G-spot stimulation, is it can actually feel a little bit like they need to urinate. And sometimes there can be this this kind of push-pull with I think it feels good, but it feels a little uncomfortable and weird. And that's because the G-spot, the tissue there is that the neurological tissue in the cells are right next to the urethra and right next to the Skene's glands. So they're all just kind of anatomically extremely close together. So when we're stimulating the G-spot, we're getting some stimulation to the anterior wall of the vagina, as well as those Skene's glands. And when that happens, when those Skene's glands are stimulated, they tend to engorge more, they tend to get aroused, and eventually for many women, they can release ejaculate. Now, from a standpoint of the G-spot, what will happen for many women when you start to stimulate this is it can feel like, oh gosh, I have to pee a little bit. And that's oftentimes when people back off and say okay, this is not right. But when you get past, so at that point, what can really help is if you're taking a step back and you're breathing and you're just softening and you're going slow, and she's relaxing her pelvis and her belly and doing deep breathing. And then what you'll find, usually very quickly, a few seconds, 10 seconds, that sort of thing, is that feeling goes away of that urgency. And then there is this feeling of, oh, this feels really good. Now, once she is really turned on, oftentimes once you got the G-spot warmed up and you can tell that she's, feeling more turned on, you see her rhythm of her breath change, you see her body move a little bit, you see these changes, these nonverbal cues that she's aroused. That's oftentimes a sign that you can go faster and harder. So at that point, you can do almost like a kind of back and forth, keeping your wrist steady, but just kind of doing this back and forth like this with your hand on that spot where your fingers are coming in and out in a fluid motion, or you're doing more like this with the vibrator. And when you're doing that, then oftentimes that's where you can actually get to the point where there is that female ejaculation. Now, she will have to relax, let go. She will have to relax her pelvis. It may feel like she's going to urinate. And so it almost is like she's doing a relaxing motion with her pelvis, like she is going to urinate. And that's usually one of the hardest things for women, is allowing themselves to let go when everything inside of them is like, well, don't urinate here. You're not over the toilet. So here is the other thought, the other consideration with this, and this has been a big debate on in sex spaces as well as in research, is this fluid urine or is it not? So for sure, it looks like in studies, like when we're talking about female ejaculate, if we're talking about just like a tiny little bit of ejaculate, that's where we're talking, definitely not urine. If you look at that chemically, in studies that have looked at that chemically, it looks very, very different than urine. But if you look at when we're talking squirting, you're talking that massive like fountain of fluid that can come out of a woman. And you analyze that. There's been many studies on this, but some of the more recent ones are really showing that there are components of urine in that, but it's definitely not just urine, that it is a combination of some level of urine, so plus that female ejaculate as well. And there'll be, people out there that will say other things, but like I said, like there are studies that are showing this. So I feel like we're still learning about it, right? We're still learning what is component in this, but there's certainly studies that are showing that there is a urine component to the large amount of squirting that can happen, but it is going to be combined with that female ejaculate, that PSA, those other things. So it's not going to be just that. There's also studies that have shown in situations like this that bladders that are full prior to playing in this way actually are empty afterwards. So that's another sign there might actually be some urine involved here. So, take all this into consideration. And the biggest thing too is like after you do anything novel and before you try anything that is new, we want to have our parameters set around like, okay, well, when, how are we going to communicate? What if one person is not liking it? How are we going to pull out of it? How are we going to work in ways where we're making sure nobody's getting shamed in this, those kind of things. So we want to kind of have that pre-care when we're trying things that are new like this. And then it's good to have a post-care debriefing, and that can be right after. But for many people after something like this, it's like good to hold each other, to cuddle, to love on each other. And then depending upon if it was like amazing or not, if it's like amazing and you're in like the glory of like, wow, that was awesome, like then debrief, like hold each other in that space and stay there and talk about it. But if there was any sort of like awkwardness with it, what oftentimes works is to, just be in loving care of each other afterwards, and then maybe change the scene, go downstairs, get a glass of water and say like, hey, either let's, sit up in our bedroom, not on the bed, or if no kids or other humans are around, sit down on the couch or whatnot and debrief there and talk about what you loved and what you would change. And, make sure you focus a lot in any of these kind of conversations on what what you loved and like the things that went really well, because we do want to build our partner up in this, but we also want to, make sure that then we are taking care of our partner and taking care of ourselves. And if there's anything that we were like, this is too much, we want to adjust for next time, we want to try that. And things to change when you're debriefing on this, you can think to change around like, okay, well, how was like, questions to consider, and like, how was the amount of clitoral stimulation? Did you need more? Did you need less? What would you change about it? Did you need, like some women, I talked more about starting with the clitoris and moving to the G-spot, but for some women, you are going to want to move to the G-spot while staying on the clitoris. So you want to debrief around that, around like, did the clitoris need more continued stimulation? And especially if she's having a hard time orgasming from just G-spot, that's where that clitoral stimulation can come into play as well. And so you want to consider that as well in this conversation. Other things you can talk about and other things to consider is like, okay, well, what patterns, like, from a standpoint of fingering patterns, was, back and forth good? Was circling good? Did you start back and forth too early? Did you start moving faster too early? Was it not early enough? What could you change? And I'm giving you, kind of these ways of debriefing. So as you're thinking about it, you're thinking about these like techniques and these specific things to help understand this as well. So let me know if this is helpful. If you are watching this also as a female, this is another great reason to use this toy, because if you're interested, sometimes females can learn how to squirt best if they are with themselves and are using manual manipulation with the help of a vibrator, because of the concern around like letting go and urine and all that. Sometimes in like experiencing that, it can be more comfortable for women to be by themselves. So If that's the case, you'll definitely need a good vibrator like this. And as always, remember that silicone vibrators, which is what this is going to be, they're like some of the best stuff to put inside of you because they don't have the microplastics that we do not want inside of our vagina. But with silicone-based toys, we wanted to make sure never to use silicone lubes, remember, because the silicone lubes are they will break down the silicone toy. So you really want to use a water-based lube with your silicone toy. So I will also put my a link to my free lube guide in the show notes below. So you'll have a link to this plus your discount codes plus a link to my free lube guide in the show notes as well. This has been fun. Please do share this video with anybody that you think could benefit or learn from it. Thanks again. See you soon.